Hi lovely, welcome to LivSayz. My name is Liv and thank you so much for being here today. So this video was inspired by a tweet that I saw, and it said something along the lines of, if you go to the movies by yourself, that is one of the saddest experiences you can ever have. And I couldn't disagree more. The truth is, we really shouldn't miss out on life's experiences just because we don't have someone to experience them with. Sometimes having someone to go with is just not available, or your friends may just not have the same interests as you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Today, I am going to be discussing doing things solo and how it can actually be such a positive experience. I have come such a long way when it comes to this topic. I remember a time when there was an artist that I really liked that came in town, and none of my friends really liked the artist as much as I did. So they really weren't interested in going. And what did I do? I decided to not go. It's kind of funny looking back because that's something I would never do today. At the end of the day, I had to learn that the company that I really should enjoy the most is my own company. But without further ado, let me just dive into why doing things solo might be the way to go. So the first thing that I want to share is to do your due diligence. Doing things by yourself can be a little scary, and that is completely understandable. So if you're going to do so, you should definitely take the right precautions to ensure that someone knows where you are. For me, myself, I have my location shared at all times with a couple of my closest friends. That way, if they're curious about where you are, if they want to know about your whereabouts, they can just check on the app. It's just that extra security blanket to make sure that someone is aware of your whereabouts. Also, if you're doing things solo, reading reviews about the restaurant you're going to, kind of being aware of the location is tremendously helpful. There's been so many times that I look things up ahead of time just to be aware of where I can park, how far it is, how I can get there, just to avoid any kind of hurdles along the way. So before you consider doing things solo, if you are someone that is concerned about your safety, just do your research. I think just being aware and privy to the environment you're going to dive yourself in makes the world of a difference. So my next tip is practice makes perfect. I know for me, when I started doing things solo, I didn't start big. I started out very small. So what I essentially started doing is doing things that were more in my comfort zone. I know for me, going to the movies was actually the perfect scenario for me. So I just feel like that's a perfect setting. When you go to the movies, you're not forced to be social. People are set in their seat, they have to be quiet, the lights are dim. It's essentially the perfect practice spot to doing things by yourself. So movies is a great idea. A small cafe is also amazing. A lot of the times when you go to a cafe, people are minding their business. They're on their laptop, they are on their phone, they're drinking their coffee. So that's another one that can be a little bit of a step higher because you do have the ability to be a little bit more social. So I would definitely recommend starting out small, getting your feet wet a little bit before you take that plunge into going to a super social event. If you're someone that is a little bit apprehensive about interacting with other people. With you starting out small and going to these places that are more in your comfort zone, you'll also be able to practice your social skills and kind of put yourself out there. It could be something small like complimenting someone on their bag or just saying good morning. That practice will help you so much when it comes to kind of going to the big leagues and going to those bigger social functions. My next tip is you never know what you're going to get. I've noticed that with life's experiences, it's really like a box of chocolate. Similar to what Forrest Gump said, you never know what you're going to get. By you putting yourself out there and experiencing things by yourself, you're really opening yourself up to many opportunities to meet people, to experience once-in-a-lifetime things, and potentially make new friends. By you continuously going to things that you enjoy, you're allowing yourself to enter a pool of people that like what you like too. So you're going to get the opportunity to meet people that will in the future maybe go with you next time because they also like a certain art exhibit or a certain artist. You're essentially enabling yourself the potential to meeting people you would have never ran into if you decided to not go to that specific event by yourself. I actually remember going to a concert by myself and being super nervous but just winging it and going anyways. Not only did I fully enjoy the concert, I also made a new friend. And we actually happened to have a lot of the same music taste, so it got to the point that whenever an artist was in town that we liked, we would message each other and ask if we're going, and she would be my +1 or I would be her +1. I would say that's definitely an amazing benefit to going to something by yourself. The next thing I want to share is that you only live once. We are given this life for a reason, and that is to live it abundantly, live it in a way that satisfies us. When you are deciding to not go somewhere or experience something because you have no one else to go with, you're essentially allowing other people to dictate how you are going to live your life to the fullest. Sometimes it's best to just rip off that band-aid and just go by yourself. The last thing you want to do is not go somewhere or do something because someone said no to sharing that experience with you, or simply because you just don't have someone in your life to do it with. So which one would you rather have? Going and experiencing something new, or just not going at all and never really knowing what you missed out on? I say going is definitely the way to go. This is your life to live, and you should do everything that you want to. Yes, it may be a little bit uncomfortable, but I think that moment of being uncomfortable will be so worth it after you go, and you can kind of pat yourself on the back and be like, I did it. My next tip is don't overthink it. So if you're anything like me, the first time that I did something by myself, I was thinking, oh my gosh, people are gonna look at me. People are going to be like, why is this girl by herself? She's such a weirdo. Where are her friends? And honestly, I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, if you have that thought, and then what? What comes after that? You have that thought, it's so fleeting, it kind of just goes through your mind, and I'm still enjoying my time by myself. But chances are people just don't care that much. They're probably so invested in the experience or the company that they're with that they may look at you for a moment and be like, oh, that girl's by herself. But then they kind of move on. So don't overthink what people will think about you when you go to places by yourself. Be proud that you're there. There's so much power in going to things alone. A lot of people cannot do it. And the fact that you are doing it, that should honestly make you feel so amazing. So what if a random stranger that you'll never see again is thinking about the fact that you're by yourself? At the end of the day, it's your life and you're doing what you want. And even if you run into someone that you know, what's the worst they're gonna say? Oh, we saw so-and-so and she was by herself. Okay. And I don't know, I just feel like there's so many more important things in life that are going on, that someone going out by themselves and enjoying their time because they want to should be the least of people's worries. And you really have to give yourself that mentality where it's like, I honestly don't care. I want to do this. I want to experience this. And that's what matters to me the most. Your thoughts about what I'm experiencing doesn't really matter to me right now. And that's really how I had to look at it. I know it's easier said than done, but once you start experiencing things by yourself and enjoying them, you're going to realize how much more that experience means than someone's negative thoughts about you doing something that you're enjoying. That leads into my next tip, which is that you will feel so empowered. I know a lot of people say there is strength in numbers, but when I think of this analogy, I think of like a basketball team or any sports team in general, right? As a unit, they are strong, but the unit itself can't be strong as a whole if each individual doesn't bring something powerful to the team. Imagine having a soccer team where everyone does not play well. Now take that same idea, but every single individual on that team brings something powerful. That is what really creates the strength in numbers. I completely understand that there is a comfort in doing something in a group. That is a very natural feeling. However, doing things alone can actually really enhance your experience when you do things with other people. Have you ever looked at a group and you've noticed that one person that you could just tell is just so comfortable in themselves, even though they're in a group? You could tell that if those other individuals weren't there, they would still stand so proudly in who they are. And that is what doing things by yourself can really increase. It's just that ability to kind of stand firm on who you are. It's like, yes, I'm here with this group, but I can also stand alone because I've done it so many times. So understand that doing things by yourself is so empowering. For my last tip, I'll say you'll inspire others. It's really inevitable. When you are doing something that so many people are afraid to do or are not comfortable doing, you'll honestly become someone that a lot of people will envy. They'll naturally look at you and see that strength that you have and really feel like, man, I wish I could do that. That's actually kind of what kicked off my first solo trip. I was seeing so many other people that were taking these risks and really traveling alone, and I was so inspired. I was like, wow, if they can do it, I can too. It kind of gave me that little push that I needed to be like, hey, if they can do it, why can't I? And you could be that person for someone else. I know that we live life for many reasons, but having an impact on someone's life in a positive way is something that I know a lot of us want to do. And by you kind of leading by example and doing things that someone else may be so apprehensive to do, you have no idea the kind of mark you are making on that person. I know when I took that first solo trip, my friends looked at me in a light that was like, wow, she did that. Like literally, she did that. And also the reaction made me feel really good. It was a lot of wows, like, I can't believe you did that. Like, that's amazing. So sometimes you don't realize how something so small that you're doing can have such a big impact. So understand that when you are taking that step to do something so major, like doing something alone, you are also taking a step to potentially inspire someone else. And that is such a gift. But those were my tips to doing things solo. If you have anything else you want to share as far as how you felt when you first took that initial step to do something by yourself, please share. I love reading about other people's experiences. If you're someone that's a little bit apprehensive and you're still like, no, I can't do it, feel free to share too. This is definitely a safe space. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay lovely, and I hope to catch you in my next video. Bye everyone.